What's up, everybody? I'm Scott,
And I'm Jason.
and you're listening to Liquid Carnage. What's up, my friend? Welcome
Oh,
back
no.
from Texas.
I'm back from Texas. Survived. We had no cold. We had no frozen. We had nothing. So it was like the whole week and a half, 2 weeks before I got there was just nothing.
Oh, so you're not implying that it was all a giant conspiracy made up by the
Oh,
media?
total conspiracy theory.
They
It
weren't
never
wagging the
happened.
dog?
Fake news. Fake news told us that it happened, but it never did.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, in your honor of being off for a few days, I too took some time off last week. It was not nearly as exciting as yours, but still, time off is still good for the mind, body, and spirit, and
It's
cleaning out the
so.
garage.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just taking time away, I have to sometimes talk to Noreen's son because he's maxed out on his vacation, and I keep saying, dude, just take some vacation. I mean, there's no point in maxing it out if you're gonna not like get de-stressed every once in a while. So take some time, enjoy yourself.
Yeah, but he runs hot anyway, so it's good. Good luck on that.
Yeah, maybe,
You know.
maybe.
But it is good to get away. It's good to just take time away. Like I said, I took 3 days out of the office, and it was nice just to be away. But the problem is, when you take time off, you inevitably have to come back. And when people are trying to help while you're out, sometimes they don't always do the best job helping. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like they say, I'll cover your desk, but then they don't.
Yeah, or they do in a way that you have to go fix now.
Yeah, no, I get it. I have to admit, so we went to Texas because Noreen just wanted to see her grandson, spend time with her grandson. And
That's fair.
her grandson's 4, and so he's at that. He's not so
Mhm.
carry him and do everything. He's a little bit more independent, and he has he has the time to kind of reach out and play on his own, but also play with other people and stuff like that. And so when I got there, my moniker is Granddude. That's my name. So he calls me
Granddude.
Granddude.
Okay.
And he has come to appreciate that when Granddude comes, there is an adult that is willing to crawl into the little playground areas and run around and kick soccer balls and race him and stuff. So he gets really jazzed when I get there.
That's cool.
Yeah. And one of the things that I noticed is we went to a restaurant for lunch one day, and the restaurant we chose had a nice little outdoor play area. And the kid got out, and he and I were playing for a little bit. Well, then another little kid approached the play area, and so I said, well, I'm bigger than them, so I'm gonna let them come up and they're gonna play with you. And these two kids played probably for 45 minutes, never knew each other, never, I mean, they didn't yell at each other. They just played nicely, and they, knew each other's names. And I have to admit, Scott, I was a tad envious of the days when that was possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Oh, man, life was so much easier back then. It
Yeah.
was so much easier when you didn't have to worry about any of the shit that you have to worry about as you grow up.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I'm reading a book, that is kind of, I don't want to say it's doomsday, but basically the premise of the book is we as a society, as a world population, as human beings, have put so many things in place that we think are supposed to make our lives easier, make our lives last longer. And yet, if you break it down, it's actually not made our lives easier. It's not made our lives better. And actually, it's probably causing a lot of the chaos and crisis and stress that we're seeing both personally, interpersonally, and on political scales, financial scales. And one of the concepts that he was talking about was the concept of time, that
Oh, yeah.
over the years we have established, labeled everything by minutes and days and seconds. And as a result of that, we have actually enslaved ourselves to this construct. And I'll give you a perfect example. So in the normal days of a normal person, they have to be in bed by a certain time because they have to get up at a certain time. They have to get ready for work in time, and they have to travel to that job in time. Then they work their hours, and they have to make sure they get all their hours in. Then they get home. They have a limited number of hours, and then they have to go to bed again. So it's like a vicious circle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I started thinking about it. It's like, as an adult, we don't think we're enslaved to our schedules, but we really are. We can't just
Oh
stay
yeah.
up as late as we want. We can't, we really do that. Well, the only reason why I bring all this up is that Jameson at 4 years old has no concept of time.
Yeah.
He has none. So if he wakes up at 7 o'clock in the morning, he runs and plays and does whatever he wants until he gets tired. And then he just
Yeah.
sleeps. And then if he gets up in 3 hours, then he goes and plays more. And I thought, man, that's what I miss.
It's funny as a counterpoint. Uh, Janice's oldest daughter is 9 years old, going on 10, and she's starting to get the concept of time because now she's getting involved with things like she's like the local playhouse, school, and whatnot, and she's starting to worry about those things. You can see it already, and I don't want to say she had a panic attack over it last week, but it was a very different conversation than what you're having because she's getting ready to go into fifth grade next year, and they haven't been in school for the better part of a year, consistently, and she's freaked out because she feels like she might get left behind, and fifth grade is going to be so much harder because she doesn't think she knows as much as the fifth graders do right now, and she had a whole like breakdown moment of it all, and I was thinking about it, and I don't know what to say in those occasions because I'm still learning. I mean, I don't know for the world that's listening. I'm a single man that's about to have a woman and her two young daughters move in with me. So if there's ever a sitcom waiting to happen, this is a total premise. But I sat about it and I thought about it for a few minutes, and I went back to something my grandpa taught me way back in the day. My grandpa was a very wise man. At least he'll tell you he was. Um, he always pointed out that no matter what, you always have to start at the bottom, and you always find a way to work your way up to the top just by going through life and learning as you go. And that's what Jameson's doing right now too. He's waking up and he's having fun, but at some point he's going to have to go to preschool. I'm assuming next year, and he'll be the first day of preschool, and then by the end of the year he'll be the first day of kindergarten, and then you don't know anybody in that school, but by the end of the kindergarten year, you know everything that you need to know as a kindergartner, and you start back at the bottom at first grade, and you work your way back up to the top, and that's just everything in life, and that's part of the problem technology now today with us too. It's we find ways to pass the time and use the time with technology that helps us waste away. We don't take the time to appreciate being young and having no responsibilities.
Well, and I don't know about you, but I mean, I remember when the summer hit, it was an eternity of time during the
Oh
summer.
yeah.
I don't even know if I could count how many things I was doing out and about and how many places I was going and visiting my grandparents and doing all these things because I had all this time available. And
Yeah.
now as an adult, now what do we say? Oh my gosh, that month's already gone. 2 months are
Yeah.
already gone in this
Yeah.
year.
It's March.
Yeah,
It's March,
it's
Jason.
March.
We
2
just
months
we
are
just
already
had
gone.
Christmas.
Baseball is starting. So we have all these conceived notions now as adults, the things that little Jameson right now has no concept of. No
No, I
concept.
get it. I get it. I remember being a kid growing up. Like we get out of school toward the end of May. We wouldn't have to go back till the middle, late August, and that's an eternity, man.
Yeah.
That is almost 3 full months of just doing absolutely nothing but swimming and camping and having fun. And I miss those days.
Yeah, one of the things that the author of this book was talking about is that now because everything is measured in a time increment, we as adults have such a stress about, well, we can't waste time. Like you can't just sit around and do nothing anymore and just let the breeze hit your face. You've got to fill your time with something, otherwise you're wasting it.
Yeah.
And if you look back 1,000 years ago, or even during the 1700s, these men of our nation, where they were going in a 3 mile an hour world on horseback, and yet they seemed like they got so much
Oh
during.
yeah.
It's like, was it because they didn't have such a stringent, okay, I got to be done by 6, and then I got 15 minutes, and then I've got to do something else. It's in 50, that pressure of having to feel like, okay, if I waste this moment, then it's wasted. I just wasted a moment.
Yeah, it's moments it's gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Instead of
funny.
just saying, you
There's
know what, I'm gonna sit. Like, so there was probably 4 or 5 times with Jameson that we played for an hour and a half, and I had no idea that the time was even. I mean, I just focused on him and trying to save my energy because I'm old now and I can't run as much as I used to. But and I made a conscious effort to say, you know what, I'm in the moment with him. I'm going to focus on him. I'm not going to worry about, oh, I could be doing something else, or and it was refreshing.
yeah. It's funny because you look at that. You look at like the energy kids have and whatnot, and the way they look at time in the world, and especially as you grow up though too, because even as you get more responsibility, even like through college, you find ways to enjoy your free time, or time that you don't have to spend at work or in school. And there's a song called College by, it's a one-hit wonder. It came out about 10 or 11 years ago, a guy by the name of Ash or something other. But there's a line in the song that sticks out of my mind just through this conversation: is time isn't wasted when you're getting wasted. And that was but you think about that, like back in the day, like how much of your social activity was focused on just those things, and the bonds you make. And it's not really wasted time. It's building a social structure, which is still good.
Yeah, I mean, so the first part of this book is basically just, oh, we're in a world of hurt, or we're just totally screwing up the world, and all this bad stuff about how we've brought this on ourselves. And there's a bunch of other things I could get into, but I won't. But then the second half of the book is supposed to be about ways that you can kind of not circumvent the system. It's like you still have to live in the system of what we've developed, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's science, technology, labels for everything that we've identified in this world. But there's a way that you can still kind of get back to that original feeling of, I'm going to sit on a chair and just let the wind hit my face and not worry
Yeah.
about something not getting done or getting done. So the first half of the book's been a little stressful to me, and then the second half, I'm sure, hopefully, will be a little bit better. But the guy does bring up some really fascinating things, and
No, and I totally understand. And I get what he's coming from, where he's coming from, what you're coming from with that too. It's just taking a couple days off, because I focused on working on the house around here, and I got everything I needed to do done because I felt like I had a time crunch. But then I had extra time, and I felt like if I wasn't doing something, I was wasting my time off.
yeah, right. Like, or do you ever go on a vacation and the immediate sense is, I've got to fill up my time with as much stuff and activity as possible.
Yeah,
Well, he
yeah,
talks about that too. He says, the activity is not. It's almost like we're not doing it like kids. We're trying to be entertained.
yeah,
A lot of people can't sit through a long movie because it needs to be quick. It needs to be now. And if it isn't now and it isn't good, then I'm bored. And
yeah,
and I mean, I don't know how many times have you ever gone on a vacation where, I know we have, where it's like, oh my gosh, okay, so Monday we're gonna do this, and then Tuesday we're gonna try
yeah,
this, and then Wednesday we're gonna do this, and by the Friday of the week, you're like, oh, I'm so exhausted, like trying to
yeah.
do too much.
Yeah, no, that's the hard part, is because you get in that mindset because you want the most bang for your buck too, and I think that's got a lot to do with it. Because now you put a monetary value on your time being off, and especially when you're spending good money to go to these places and do these things, you want to feel like you're getting the most bang for your buck by doing all this stuff. But in reality, you're right. You need to have that time to sit down and do nothing. And I go back to when we took that cruise. It was 10 years ago we took that cruise. Yep. There's like three of the 8 days you're out to sea, and there's nothing you can really do out there except enjoy yourself, because there's no cell phone reception. At the time, you could pay like megabucks for Wi-Fi, but it still wasn't that great. So what do? You're forced to interact with people, or sit on the deck and relax, or go to the pool, or just drink. And I think sometimes people forget that how nice it is just to do nothing.
Yeah, like one of the things that was brought up was, the amount of money that people spend to get away from our world, right? Like they
Yeah.
go out in the middle of nowhere with a cabin, or they go out to some lake where there's no, concept of internet or anything. And it's true. Like some of the best vacations that we've had have been on the cruise boat when we didn't have cell service. Couldn't check
Oh
emails,
yeah.
couldn't check voicemail, you couldn't check anything, and
You're
yet,
basically forced to be in the moment.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes the beauty of a moment is just that it is finite, that it is gone. It'll never come back again.
Mm-hmm.
We were on on the plane last night, and for those of you who aren't in Arizona, one of the things I love about the state of Arizona is we have some of the most beautiful sunrises and sunsets
Oh,
that I've ever
absolutely.
seen. Well, as we're flying in to Phoenix, we look out the window, and the sunset was a crimson red. I don't remember very many red sunsets. I know a lot of oranges, pinks, and purples, but it was just a crimson red. It was so beautiful. The plane took a turn to kind of steer back in to get on course to land. When it came back up, maybe 2 minutes later, the red was gone. It was just a dark gray.
Yeah.
And I thought that's exactly what that Buddhist monk or whoever said that was talking about, that the beauty of that moment, while I wasn't able to capture it on as a picture, because it's gone, it's no longer there. That's what made it beautiful. It's just kind of weird. And like, so, when I think about it, that like I agree. I enjoyed our cruise just for that reason. There were some days where we weren't doing anything. We were
Yeah.
sitting on a boat, or we were at the pool doing absolutely nothing. And, let's be honest, that's when we were talking more, and that's when we were laughing, and being amongst friends was so enjoyable. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we've started working to get back into the swing of things. With the last couple Friday nights, like we've gotten together with some friends, and I've had wine and just talked and laughed and just started reconnecting. And that's, you appreciate those moments so much more when you have them taken away from you, whether it be for health reasons or whatever else. You appreciate the opportunity to just sit and spend time with people, get their opinions, and just get different perspectives that you might have forgotten about or just wanted to hear.
You don't think about,
You know,
well, I've been here now 1 hour and 39 minutes. You don't think about that.
yeah,
And maybe that,
exactly.
you know, time is always going fast when you're having fun,
Oh yeah, yeah,
because you have no concept of it. I mean, it's just gone. And I think that was the biggest thing that watching Jameson is that he's not corrupted by the constraints that I want to say self-imposed, right?
mm-hmm.
I mean, we want to get a job. Why? So we can get money. And we agree to work hours that we would rather be doing something else. And we agree to having to modify our time on our free time in order to make sure that, it's all those things that we have to do as adults that he as a child doesn't have to do yet,
Yeah, the sad part is that that corruption's coming.
Yeah.
And it's right at 4 years old. 4 years old, it's right on the horizon. And unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about it.
No, yeah. I mean, the construct of our society requires us to meet certain needs. We have to generate income, and we have to be a productive member of our society. So, I mean, I guess I hope that he holds on as long as he can.
Yeah, I get some time off at the end of March here for our buddy Bruce's birthday. We're going up to Vegas to go see him for the weekend, and it's going to be fun, man. We're looking forward to just getting away. It's only 2 nights, but just to be somewhere else and just not having to worry about anything for a couple days. I know Janice is looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. And, that's just a precursor to a bigger vacation coming at some point. We just need to bite the bullet and do it. But it's been a crazy year for that. And that brings us to other topics. It's before, the show started, we're discussing topic ideas today. And I mentioned that the Department of Defense has shown up to Kingman to help out the hospital for the next month to kind of give us some relief. We requested help from the government for staffing back in December when we were at our peak of COVID. And 8 weeks later, they're able to finally grant us the help.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we have 30 additional providers for the next month. But, instead of people getting angry over it being 2 months later, that we've really rallied around the opportunity to take it, get to know these providers, and then give our staff a chance to take time off and just recharge, because we've been to the max, to the walls for the last 2 months, and getting to know some of the people that are giving a chance to take this break. It's just been amazing. It's fun. It's cool to see the different perspectives, because these people have been on different deployments like this for the last 6 months or so. So they've seen all different parts of the country and the world, and have so much more experience and advice on how to handle this stuff. It's just kind of surreal.
Scott,
Jason,
Scotty. Okay, yeah, it
Jason.
froze on me.
Yeah, you've been kind of freezing in and out on there too
Okay,
a little bit.
go ahead. Uh,
Oh, I finished. I finished my
okay.
statement. It's cool that they're coming to help. It's cool that they're giving us a chance to regroup, take our own vacations, and just recharge, and just kind of gear up in case there's another flare
So,
up.
does
But
the government have
just,
a program that you have to apply for, or how did you guys get able to do that?
I think it's a program that we just applied for. It's just a matter of just getting your turn to come up.
Oh, okay. So it's like a federal program that
Yeah,
they offer that assistance.
yeah. Like you have to meet certain criteria, and at a certain point, when we were requesting it, we had a lot of staff out, with COVID, and we were getting to a tipping point, and fortunately for us, we were able to get through it. We were able to power through and find resolution. But it's just neat to sit and listen to these other experiences from all these soldiers that have seen and gone above and beyond to help our own citizens. Because people hear soldiers, they think of going to war or doing stuff like that. They don't realize that they're also here to help us and help take care of us in our hours.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure also that it's easy to say, well, some military people came and kind of helped us, but when you take away the label and look at, wow, this person has been through this and this, and wow, we've been through that too, and you can commiserate. I'm sure it's kind of a nice reprieve knowing that we're not alone.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we were doing this afternoon. When I was talking, I was like, so how's it been here? And I was just explaining like I don't want to say the politics of our community, but they've seen so much, and like, well, we walk around, we don't see anybody here wearing masks. It's like, yeah, well, welcome to rural Arizona. They're like, well, we've been here X, Y, and Z, and everyone's wearing a mask regardless. It's like, yeah, that's great, but unfortunately, you know, that doesn't happen here. And it's like, well, can we help educate? And I was like, that'd be great if you can get them to listen, but I don't know. So it's neat to hear the different
Well, and
perspectives.
I'm sure that I don't know how it works when you're part of an organization like the military, or whether you're part of a, I don't know, a police force, but I mean, it's hard not to toe the line that the government's probably going to tell you, you wear a mask, you make sure that other people wear masks, no one and it's hard to break away from that mentality and then to come to rural
Yeah.
Arizona and see people, who probably are higher risk because of some of the comorbidity precursors that don't wear
Mhm.
masks. You're like, oh boy.
Well, that's the interesting part too, because we're sitting in the marketing strategy meeting, because they take a lot of pictures and do their own video work and whatever else, and because they want to paint themselves in a good light, paint us in a good light too, and that's what a lot of the conversation was. Is like, we'll send you guys pictures for approval to make sure everyone's wearing proper masking and proper PPE, because we don't want to give the wrong impression to anybody. And then they send everything up their chain once we approve it to get approved. So it's a different chain of command, which is neat to kind of sit and listen to and be a part of. Uh, and it makes you appreciate the freedoms you have in the private sector versus the military sector.
Well, I think it's also kind of neat that, I mean, I've never really quite been able to put my hands around how spending happens from the government perspective, but it sounds like
No
that
one
the
does.
Department
No
of
one knows how.
Defense has, as part of their budget, programs like this where they'll deploy people to assist in areas of need. Like, I mean, that's kind of cool that they have that. That might be separate from whatever the government tries to do through spending plans and spending
Yeah.
packages. So
The cool thing is too, like it gives them a chance to travel and see and kind of live in the moments where they're at, and it gives us a chance to kind of regroup and get refreshed, because spring break's coming up, and you know people want to be together, they want to have families, or they have families, they want to be able to even just going camping in the Wallapies. just being able to do something goes a long way.
Yeah, and we the last night that we were there in Texas, there was it was Janice's birthday, so she had a little get together with some of her friends, and we basically they had a fire pit kind of built in their backyard, and there was probably 10 or 11 of us just sitting out there talking, and it was just it was just really nice. Like you kind of said earlier, it was so nice just to getting to know new people who I've never met before. And, we weren't so preoccupied with, well, what political party do you belong to? And who do you like? No politics were talked about at all. No one even we talked about COVID, obviously, I think just because, it's still on everybody's mind even now. But it was so refreshing just to enjoy talking and learning about people. And like there was a firefighter there who was telling us things that he was proud of during the last couple of weeks when I guess they had a lot of fire calls, and he was telling
Yeah.
his stories about what he was proud of. And there was another exchange between two girlfriends of Janice's who were laughing now, but I guess maybe a month and a half ago got into a huge drunk fight, in terms of they were yelling at each other because one girl wanted to go out still and the other friend said, no, you're too drunk. But that night that we were with them, they were laughing and it was like, yeah, you can be mad at each other, but it's a fleeting moment. So I'm sure
Yeah.
talking to these people who've been all over, it sounds like it must have been nice to kind of just get a different perspective.
It has been. And just for a clarification note, Jameson's mother, her name is Janice. So that's a different Janice than the one that I talk about in our stories too. So for anyone listening that might get confused, they were talking about
Oh,
two different
that
Janices
very good
here, and
point.
that's
Yeah.
it's a very rare occurrence that
Yes,
actually
the
happens. But it
Janice,
just good to point
the
that out.
Janice that I was talking about was Noreen's daughter-in-law, and it was her
Yeah.
birthday on the 27th. So, but yeah, no, like you said, just I don't know. We have so much room to be not compassionate. I don't want to say compassionate because I think it's just we have so much room to be able to appreciate what other people's stories are, and that they're different than ours, but they can be just as entertaining or just as.
Well, I think
Tell
you
me.
hit. I think you hit it on the head there, though, when you said that nobody was talking about politics, nobody was talking about things that divide us. If you get down to it, there's a lot more in this world that we can rally around and unite behind than the stuff that people perceive as important. And if you take a step back, you realize that we're not all that different. And we don't have to talk about the things that make people angry. And it's okay to keep scrolling if you see something that makes you mad on Facebook or Instagram or whatever else. People just need to learn to chill out, especially right now.
Yeah, and maybe we're getting back to that. Back in the day, there used to be a thing where you didn't talk about religion or politics. And
Yeah.
maybe people are just so burned out from it, no matter what side you're on. I mean, we can all believe what we want
Yeah.
to believe, but we were sitting around this fire pit, and I know that I probably had different views than almost everybody in that area, but no one would have known it. No one talked about it. No one said, "Ooh, I'm not going to talk
Yeah.
to Jason," or "Jason's not going to talk to this person because of it." So it was just really nice. And once
Yeah.
again, the thought of, I mean, the amount of time that went by, we talked for hours, and no one was sitting at their watch going, oh my gosh, we've talked for 25 hours, 25 minutes or an hour.
Yeah.
So it was nice. It was really nice.
Yeah. You just live in
Yeah.
the moment. So have you had a time over the last year where you had a chance to live in the moment? A lot's happened with people being in quarantine, not being able to go out. So we've had nothing but time to stare at our clocks or whatnot. But if you had an adventure in your own little way that you could go out and just do your own thing and not worry about time, we want to hear about it. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, all at Liquid Carnage. If you want to have our EP Tom try to find a nice way to kill some time in the beautiful Denver country up in Colorado, hit him up at liquid_EP on Twitter and Instagram.
I get to watch the statistics, and in the month of February, we had a really big month. There was a lot of people listening, so thank you very much. But I found it interesting that we had the one Russian who listened. So there was one person in Russia who listened to the podcast last month, and I love seeing other countries dip into the Kool-Aid a little bit and find out what two idiot morons from Arizona are talking about on an American podcast.
Yeah, it makes me wish that when those people find us, like, can they just take a survey? Like, how'd you find us?
Exactly.
Like, did you listen to the Joe Rogan Experience and like where we ended something you might like? Not that we are, but like, how does that work?
Well, and Scott, I mean, I look at the statistics sometimes from from the last 2 years. I am so amazed at how many countries are represented, because every time I think about two friends for now going on almost starting our 5th year doing this, to have people from Africa, Australia, Russia, China, all these people that listen to our podcast, it kind of brings a smile to my face, because it's like, what a great world, man.
It is. It's cool, man, and it's really no different. If anyone that would meet us in a bar on a random night or in a coffee shop on a random morning, they would hear the same conversations, they would hear the same debates, and they would find themselves oddly involved. Yeah. And that's not to try to like pat ourselves on the back, but I think that's just something that you and I have established. We've established with our friend Dean. We have a set of people around us that can create conversation and an environment that draws people to us. And I think that's half the fun. Yeah. That's half the beauty of what we're able to do.
And so thanks to everyone who's listening. We really appreciate it. Scott, that was a great episode. I'm glad you had some time off. I hope the floors look good.
I haven't even gotten it yet.
You're still waiting. Okay. All right. Well, next podcast, I'm sure you'll have them done.
Yeah, hopefully. They better be.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody. That was Scott. I am Jason. And as always, if you never know quite what to say, just have yourself some liquid carnage.